I wasn't going to do a review of this, but then the what I listened to was so amazing, so I decided, okay, I got to share this. So I don't have a book to share, but this is more an Audible course in Audible, and it probably is available somewhere on YouTube or somewhere maybe. I didn't search for it, but Michael A. Singer did a, I think like a 9 or 10 part series, essentially coaching people or guiding people on living in the place of surrender. Basically, coming down from his book, Surrender Experiment, which I shared. If you look down my YouTube videos, you'll see that the Surrender Experiment. But the book was, I mean, the Audible was amazing. For me, it perhaps kind of completely, it was one of the factors, I think, when my last meditation session, I feel like I had this incredible experience. I don't want to say anything more about it because everybody's experience is going to be different. That's what I've learned. I used to think like, hey, how come I'm not getting this? I'm doing all this meditation time and I don't get it. And this happened. Um, one of the things I was going through meditation was there is a kind of like a mantra or a sloka, kind of a poem called Nirvana Shatakam. That's what kind of I think was one of the reasons I got a breakthrough. But I believe his course material also was one of the factors, and his book, obviously. But on to the Audible, I highly, highly recommend if you happen to read Untethered Soul and hopefully living from the surrender experiment also, then you will get that course better than if you haven't read Untethered Soul, then this particular one I'm sharing is not going to be good enough. I'm going to put that in the about section, the link to the Audible. That way you guys can see it because obviously talking, you might miss it, the actual name of the Audible. But here's what he does, right? He goes through this whole, essentially the history of universe to where we are. Every one of us have been part of the history from maybe tiny quantum particles to actual human beings now. It has taken billions of years to evolve into who we are. So all that is within us. And then here we are, most of us, including me, get stuck in this whole concern about our own selves and always thinking about whatever the issues we have, the mind, the brain going crazy, or things happening that we are affected by, and how those things we think that are happening now that's all there is to it, right? We don't look at like, hey, what might be the reason that might be happening, and what is the reason we're getting triggered. So that's what he goes through. It is a awesome. Other than the second, I guess second chapter, second lecture, whatever in that part. Second part, he goes into in-depth detail about evolution and all that stuff. It is important, but I felt it was a bit long. And then probably for me, anyway, second time, I'm going to listen to it multiple times because it's a great reminder, I think, for anybody, to go through it multiple times to get a reminder if they get caught up in this whole drama of life, right? That we all get into. But there's nothing wrong with it, right? One of the things I've learned is there's nothing wrong with it. It's an experience. And that's where we get caught up in, or I get caught up in anyway, a lot of the drama. I think, oh, I got this breakthrough. And then boom, something happens. Here I am again, getting into the drama, all that stuff. Now I do get recovered quickly, all that stuff, but still it doesn't matter because it's the trigger. It's a programming. We get triggered. That's a natural. And that's what the book goes through, right? Essentially, being able to observe the drama. And that's going to take a long time to get used to it, right? I'm getting sort of into it now, starting that journey essentially. I've started a journey a little while ago, but now I kind of get, with my breakthrough during the last meditation, I'm able to delineate even more now, at least observe, if not even immediately, but most of the time I'm able to like quickly catch myself trying to observe at this point. But either way, there's no thing like one of the things he talks about is don't talk about being enlightened. That's so silly. Unless you're a yogi living in the Himalayas for years and you've been meditating and all that good stuff, and then you kind of like pretty much kind of ascended, I guess. Rest of us, we're all, in the different phases. And, I have friends who talk about enlightenment and all that, or I've heard few people talk about it. And I feel like now I feel like, yeah, that's all the ego, including my ego. Sometimes it comes up like, oh, I'm way ahead in meditation or whatever that case is, right? Which is all BS, really, because it's a journey. You're just getting better. Maybe eventually you will be good enough to not get caught up in the drama, if not being enlightened, whatever that enlightenment is, right? It doesn't matter. Those all are material. But anyway, going back to this Audible course lecture series, it's a highly, highly recommended listen. Tremendous value. It's worth listening multiple times, other than the second chapter, like I said, chapter, lesson, whatever. Most of it, the rest of it is amazing to listen to. It depends on your journey, where you are. I think more you get into this meditation and a little bit more into all these books and kind of understanding, more not like getting immediately into, I guess the more delineate yourself, more probably you get it, understand the silliness sometimes we get caught up in and minor stuff bothering us. I'm not talking about major stuff, right? There's a lot of minor stuff that annoys us and we get triggered by it. If it's a major event, that's a totally different deal, but I'm talking about minor stuff. Anyway, for me, that's what I'm talking about. Major stuff, I get triggered, everybody gets triggered. Hey, it's a major event, then that's a different deal. Doesn't mean that, you don't need to feel bad or get angry or whatever the case is. But ultimately, if you understand, those are all temporary, those are experiences, those are our programming or memories, whatever triggering certain things, reacting to those things, right? Most of the time, anyway. That's what he goes through. Anyway, highly, highly recommended reading, or I'm sorry, listening to the book, Living from the Place of Surrender. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at my phone. Yeah, Living from a place of Surrender. That's the book, because I got it on my phone, Audible. That's how I listen to it. So, by Michael A. Singer, sorry. Highly, highly recommend listening to it, even multiple times. Maybe you can find it on YouTube or, I don't know, somewhere free. So, but I like it on Audible because I can listen to it whenever in my car, and the chapters, everything is like sequenced out, versus, I don't know, on a YouTube or something. Yeah, it still probably works on YouTube or something if it's available. Anyway, hope that helps. Again, highly recommend reading or listening to Living from the Place of Surrender.